So, dear Dr. Carley, I'm very happy to meet you today, and thank you for you find the time for interview. And if you don't mind, we may switch to the questions.
Sounds good.
So, the first question is, can you be considered the founder of such a direction as social cybersecurity?
I believe so, yes, I believe so, because I wrote one of the first papers.
Mm-hmm. So, what are the background and history of the origin of this discipline?
So, the background is that there's a lot of work on cybersecurity, but that's really focused on machines and hardware and data. And there was a lot of work that started up looking at online harms like disinformation, hate speech online, phishing. And increasingly, people started giving it lots of names. And we tried to all come together and think about it. And that kind of led to this coalescence. And over the course of just a few years, the number of things in this area just started going up exponentially. And this all came to the head at a National Academy of Sciences meeting here in the United States by the American National Academies, where we were meeting and we were talking about what are the major issues that are kind of computational social science issues for the next decade. And I said, you guys, it's social cybersecurity, it's this area. And they were like, what is it? What are you talking about? And within 2 weeks, that group became convinced that this was the major issue of the decade.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that's kind of where it started. But because nobody seemed to recognize what it was, we then, we talked about it in the National Academy thing, but I also wrote an article for several different journals, and it just kind of exploded.
Mm-hmm. I see. So do you see the social cybersecurity as a discipline on its own, or as a part or maybe as a branch of cybersecurity?
It's definitely its own discipline. And the reason I'm saying that is because if it was a subpart of cybersecurity, it would require the same methods and the same theoretical background and the same theories, but it doesn't. It requires completely different methodological and technical skills. It requires different data, and it's based on very different theories. Mm-hmm. So it's its own scientific field.
Mm-hmm. So you wrote in one of your articles that social cybersecurity is a science with a strong interdisciplinary focus on social communication and computer sciences. Approaches and methods of which sciences do you most often use in social cybersecurity?
So what's been fascinating as the field has been emerging is that almost every single scientific field has a toe in this, right? They all have something to offer, and it all has to bring it together. But I think the things that are most commonly looked at for theories and for methods would be out of computer science, the natural language processing and machine learning, out of sociology, some of the social processing, social psychology, some of psychology and cognitive psychology, some of political science, and some of communication theory and marketing.
Mm-hmm. So I have an illustration from one of your books. Maybe you see, yes, you know.
Yep. I know that quite well.
And there are maybe then more than 30 sciences and displayed in this diagram. So do you think that all of the listed disciplines are equally important, or there is a score of disciplines that you consider the most important?
So the impact of social cybersecurity and its role will impact every single one of those disciplines and more. That's absolutely the case. But in terms of where are the new theories coming from and what has to be blended to come up with the new theories, the core is really, the part of computer science I alluded to, machine learning and so on, the marketing, the sociology, the psychology, cognitive psychology, political science.
Mm-hmm. So what information welfare is, in your opinion?
I'm sorry, what?
What is information welfare?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So information warfare is, from my perspective, the utilization of information to gain extreme advantage over another group. And it could be by harming them, by sending disinformation, or it could be by simply converting them to a different way of thinking about the world, possibly a conspiracy theory.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not always done for diplomatic or political reasons. Sometimes it's done for economic or financial reasons.
So InfoWars are a global phenomenon, or is it also appropriate to talk about the wars in society? For example, when competitors destroy each other's business, we see it every day.
Absolutely. It's definitely a local as well as a global phenomenon. So it's equally important when, for example, you steal someone's brand from their company and you destroy their corporate reputation, or when you use this techniques to steal corporate secrets, as it is for doing deep fakes against various governments.
Mm-hmm. So we have both global and local phenomena.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. So the next question is, are the methods of social cybersecurity capable of protecting an ordinary person from the possibility of being drawn into an infowar or becoming a consequence of an infowar?
So that's where people are working. And I would say that we already know a lot that will help the everyday citizen to actually protect themselves better, and everyday companies help protect themselves better, but there's still a lot more we need to learn. So for example, some of the things in this area show that you're at most danger for information warfare when you're getting very, very excited and emotionally or very upset. So your emotions are high. And, one of the things that the work in this area shows is at that point, you should just take a media break. Just go away from all media, because that excitement level is where you're most vulnerable. That's an example for the average citizen that can help them.
So how do you think? Is it too early to speak about the applied part of social cybersecurity? Or maybe it's time already to talk about the applied part of it?
Yeah, it's never too early to talk about the applied part. And in fact, one of the things that makes social cybersecurity unique is that it basically has started out as a field that is largely applied. It's kind of half applied, half theoretical right at the start.
Mm-hmm. So in your work, you often explore Twitter. Why Twitter and not Facebook or, for example, YouTube?
So until recently, like in the last month, a lot of academics used Twitter because it was free and open. It was very easy to collect lots and lots of data. And there was a worldwide print. It was used everywhere, all over the world. So that made it very useful from an academic perspective because of those features. Whereas a lot of the other platforms are closed, and you have to be a member of a group to get the data and things like that. So it's not, or with the case of Facebook, all you get is public facing data. So it's mainly corporate. So Twitter, you could get insights into how people were thinking, but in a way that was, until recently, completely 100% legal to do.
So do you think that Twitter is the most suitable field for research?
No.
Maybe there are some other reasons?
Yeah, it was basically, it was convenient and it was free.
Mhm.
And it was one of the first big ones, right? So, if it was happening on Twitter, it was going to eventually happen on all the other platforms. Nowadays, where people are focusing is on cross-platform stuff, like how does stuff go from Facebook to Twitter to Instagram to TikTok to Telegram and so on.
Mhm. Thank you. And the last question, please, how do you see the prospects for the development of social cybersecurity, and what are the forecasts, your personal forecasts?
Well, as a community, the number of people in this is still going up exponentially. There's there's also a growing number of conferences and journals in the area. And I see that community is just growing more together so that they are now starting to cite each other. They're sending each other's students to each other. So you're developing a real scientific community as opposed to, like those 6 years ago when I would ask people who works in this area, people would tell me, nobody, just me and my students. No one says that anymore. So I think so there's that interdisciplinary. The other thing that I expect to happen is that companies will start getting smarter about this. And what they should do, whether or not they'll do this, I don't know. But what they should start doing is developing social cyber teams within each organization, just the way they have cyber teams. And so that would be an important thing that would help keep them safe and go forward. I also think that there's a growing number of people looking into this at the government level in all countries. And there's increased attention by the governments and the militaries of the world about what's legal and what's legitimate and not legitimate to do within this realm, given our country's code of honor and so on. So I think you'll see growing work there. I would not be surprised to see more international laws put in place with respect to, disinformation, hate speech, et cetera, online. So that should also be happening.